morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here at Earth and Sky, and each of you online. We really value, appreciate, and love each and every one of you, and we really love it when you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Hit the bell button if you want to choose how often you get our notifications, and we're going to dive right on into it. I hope you have enjoyed the series that we just did, talking about all of the elements and how to bring those into your life: earth, air, fire, water, spirit, how to bring those in and embody them in your day-to-day life. Well, since you've gone through those, if you haven't yet, you should really watch our archive. But since you've gone through those, you might be trying to think about how you can apply those to the challenges that you have in life. We have this thing that the Jewish Kabbalists will call our tikkun. And it is that part, that thing, that challenge within us that seems to show up so many times in our life as we try to unravel the onion and clear away the challenges that keep coming up and showing themselves to us. Your tikkun is that aspect within you that you felt that button being pushed when you were even a young child. It might be that you had dealt with abuse within your family. That abuse may have led to feeling like you were being bullied in school, which then made you feel like as you were going to get into your first jobs and you didn't connect with your coworkers, and you felt like you're always just being, crushed down by the other people that are around you, never quite fully appreciated, and really not having people see who you are. Or the tikkun might be relating to trust issues that you have too. And the trust issues sometimes will come from feelings of abandonment. Maybe you didn't have a connection with your mother or your father, or maybe you didn't know any of your birth parents when you were growing up, and it caused this feeling of abandonment, which then kind of spiraled out as you got older into issues of trust, and not being able to trust in relationships, and not being able to feel like you feel secure to be able to let people in close, so you maybe push people away a little faster so that you don't have to deal with that rejection. Or issues of sometimes deep-seated aspects of depression often will have something that has triggered that as a challenge in life that causes that issue to keep awakening, causing that pain to keep coming out over and over. Often the thing that is our tikkun, or the greater challenges that happen to us in life over and over, are really triggered the most by those closest to us. Family seems to know exactly which buttons to push to activate that tikkun. And sometimes that is activated not only by our birth families, but the people that we end up marrying. Or it might feel like your kids are pushing the same buttons that your parents did, just in a very different way, as you keep feeling like the same things keep challenging you and triggering you. So how do you get past it? How do you clear it? And why does that even happen to us in life? So the Kabbalists would talk about how this is a great blessing. It's actually a thing to feel gratitude for and to be thankful for, because you have to earn your blessings from the universe. And so each time you have a deep challenge that presents itself to you, especially those core challenges, that when we're on the other side, before we come into this life, we decide, what are some of the major things I want to figure out? What flaws do I want to come into this world with so that I can figure them out and learn how to grow and experience how to be in this human life in this heavy, grounded world, while trying to figure out how to ascend back up to the higher levels, while the spirit on the other side is figuring out, how can I descend down into this world and experience all of the craziness that happens here so that I can feel the different levels and experience them. Once you recognize that and you see that this is just a cycle that you're going through, and you start to see that there's a reason for it, that you did choose this on the other side, and that you don't have to live in the pain of it forever, it really starts to lift out so that you can be empowered. And one of the first things you need to do is to learn how to not react. So often, when it's our hot button issue, the first thing we want to do is react. kind of fly off the handle or react within ourselves, and we might feel like we're melting while trying to act like we're not melting on the outside because it triggers deep fears and deep pain, because those are the primary things that our soul is here to experience, to learn, to shift, to change, to receive great benefits and great gifts from as you experience and let go of the cocoon. So the first thing you do is not react. You simply sit back and breathe, and you recognize, this is the issue that's triggering me. This same person seems to always trigger the same issue in me. And it starts to give you a little bit of a different perspective as you recognize that you don't have to react. You can just sit back and breathe and allow yourself to experience it for a moment. You don't want to sit back and run from it so that you're not experiencing it at all, because then you're not actually really bringing in the cocoon and experiencing it and ascending up to the higher realms as you went, I did it, I know what it feels like, and I know how to climb out of it. Running does the same thing basically as reacting and not facing it. And so instead you want to breathe. You want to notice what is triggering it. Notice what feelings come up within you as those issues are triggered. Notice how it feels. If you feel like, and the cocoon sometimes can correlate more physically to things. Maybe you feel like no matter how much you try, you never get the promotions that you want. And as a child, you never got the recognition. Maybe you were a middle child and you felt like your older and younger siblings got all the attention. And then as you became an adult, you still feel like everyone else gets all the attention. There's so many ways that it will express and impact the physical day-to-day actual aspects of what you're creating in your life. But when you learn to just sit back and pause and take a breath and recognize what's going on and be able to name it and think, this is that thing that's called cocoon. I can be okay. I can sit in this energy. This isn't going to kill me. This just feels like a pain. It's a mirage of a pain because this is what I wanted to experience and to see. And instead you recognize it, you take that breath, and then you decide what actions you want to take. And you're able to face that fear head on. Usually those issues that are triggered within us have an element of fear behind them, whether it's abandonment issues or trust issues or bullying issues or depression, whatever it is, there's an element that sparks within that is this fear of it feels insurmountable, or it feels like the pressure is starting to get too much. But when you sit back, you breathe, you look at it, you recognize it, and you start to recognize you have the full power of yourself within you. And you have the full power of the universe on your side, at your back, and within you. And the light of the universe wants you to succeed. And the light of the universe wants you to be happy. And the light of the universe wants you to be able to recognize and see, these are the challenges that I'm facing. I can see how often this has happened in my life. And I can see that I have a path that I can choose into the future. Instead of reacting all the time and feel like I'm fighting life all the time, instead of that, I can choose to see the path ahead of me and go with that path and not react with the emotions that get flared up. And when you start to do that, you start finding your way, ascending past the challenges, and you simply by naming it, we talked about fear in the past and how powerful it is simply to see it, recognize it, and name it, and then stand within your own power. So with the cocoon, you stand within your own power, and you recognize the certainty of the light of the universe that's in you and around you and fills you with great power and great joy to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, to say no to whatever it is you want to say no to, and to say yes to whatever it is that you want to say yes to. But when you start to recognize, you sit in the space of the energy for a moment, acknowledge it, see it, breathe, feel that certainty of the light of the universe around you, within you, and then start to feel some gratitude. for the challenge that you're facing. And that may seem a little tricky at first. Some of you might be sitting at home going, why would I feel gratitude that these people are being horrible to me and it's not fair and I'm mad about it? Well, when you sit back and you recognize that every challenge that comes to you because there is a gift and a blessing that's waiting for you to earn it, then you start recognizing that you can say, thank you for bringing this challenge, because you can see when you look at that path ahead, because you paused instead of reacting and weaving through the bullets of life, you see the path ahead and that you can follow this straight, beautiful trajectory into the certainty of the light of the universe, and you're able to really recognize that as you find the gratitude that you have that challenge, it opens your vision to know all of the things that are going on around you and see the vision of what that gift is that is at the end of it. It is, I find it fascinating as I was delving a bit deeper into the cocoon myself, and I was thinking about some of the issues that I had when I was younger with abandonment, and it felt like growing up there were points where I didn't have my father, and then as I got older there were points where I didn't have my mother, and it seemed for some reason the universe aligned that I can't have them both at the same time. And I had struggled so much at different ages with wondering, why did this happen? What's wrong with me? What did I do? You know, all of those things that as a child your mind wonders, and if you don't take time to sit back and pause as an adult, it can still spin out in those thoughts. But when instead you sit back and pause and you recognize this isn't about being something done to me. It's not something that's about any kind of direction at me. This is a lesson that I chose. I wanted to feel and experience coming into this life. So why did I want to do that? I wanted to do that to experience it, to ascend, and to be able to achieve whatever the great gift is on the other side. So as I was following that thread through and figuring out, so why this lesson specifically? And I thought, when I was younger, I often was very mothering to everyone around me. When I was in my teens, when I was young, I felt like I was mothering to my mother. When I was in my teens and my 20s, I was mothering to everyone. Our friends that were in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, I was more of a mother to them, even though I was in my early 20s. And so all of my clients, I became their mother. And at that point, I hadn't really corrected the cocoon. I was still feeling a lot of the pain of it. So as I was feeling this deep sense of mothering to all of these people around me, it came from a sense of trying to fill that void within myself. And in some ways, it felt like it did that. Certainly, there were a lot of great things that came out of it, but there was still a deep sense of that pain because I was experiencing the cocoon and I hadn't figured out how to unravel it, to see it clearly, and then to ascend. And I realized at some point, when I started to finally shift and I came to an acceptance of the issues that I thought I was feeling with the mother and the father issues. I know a lot of people experience things like that, and maybe in different ways too. But when I came to acceptance of where things were and what life was and what I chose as I came into this life, suddenly I realized that something had shifted with the dynamic of all of the people around me. And I still feel that sense of being very mothering to all of the people that are in my life. I still find that's just kind of who I am, but it no longer comes from this place of filling that void within myself. It no longer comes from that place of feeling that I need to do that because I'm seeking something for myself. Instead, this dynamic shift happened, and I started seeing where I was sparking the light and sparking that awakening within the other people so that they can see the great degree of light that is within themselves. That is what I wanted within my core, but I hadn't really reached that until I healed those levels of the cocoon. And when I healed those levels, I realized right around the same time, this was several years ago, right around those same times I had a different cocoon issue that awakened within me. And so as I was working with the Kabbalists and studying, they said each time you clear a cocoon, there's another cocoon that's ready to be revealed. Because that's why we're here, is to awaken and to notice and to feel these things that are very much about being in a body and being in a life and experiencing some of the pains, so we can figure out how to shed the layers, how to pause, and how to go up the road, finding our way to reach that light of divinity while we're here in this body. But we're not here to live being divine, because we're here. We chose this time to be a very short time here to experience all of those. And so I challenge each of you this week to think about what issue you have within yourself that's something that you may have felt from an early time in your life. Definitely that would be something triggered by family, because the cocoon is always kind of triggered by family. They know which buttons to push with that. That's part of our agreement coming to the planet with that. And then see where you have issues maybe that you have healed, and where you have issues that you still feel triggered. And notice how when you feel those triggers, you can stop for a moment. Feel the feelings for a moment. Don't get sucked in. Don't fall into it or fall into the abyss of the emotion, but just feel it for a moment, where you're looking at it, where you see it, you acknowledge it, you notice it, and you pause so you can kind of see the path that's ahead of you. You see that the light of the universe is in you and around you and at your back, and you're not alone, and you have this great path that you can choose, and you can choose which direction you want to go when you take that moment to pause and you're not just reacting. So think about that this week, about what maybe you have some cocoons that you've healed already, and then think about which cocoons awakened as that healed, because that's our big process of this journey that we're on here in this life. Every challenge has a reward. Every challenge really brings that reward at the end, and you'll be able to notice as you heal the cocoon, you see a great blessing that comes in that correlates with it, that brings a big sense of freedom with it as well. The bigger the challenge, the greater the reward. It's partly our way of being able to earn it from the universe. As you work for it and you clear it, you're doing the work, so you're earning that great reward. We learn to love what we invest in, and this was a quote from one of the Kabbalist teachers, but we learn to love what we invest in, and we learn to hate what we only take from. Something to really think about this week. Think about the relationships in your life. Do you have relationships where you're maybe taking all of the time from someone? You probably don't have a great deal of respect for them. You don't have the same great deal of love for them that you would have if you were investing in them instead. Think about those relationships that are closest to you, and think about how you can earn that relationship, especially the ones that are closest to you, your significant other or somebody you're dating or somebody, any of those even really close friendships. How can you earn that love and be worthy of them? If you've noticed early on in relationships, people are always trying to impress the person that they're dating and doing all these fun surprises and things like that. And then as the years go on, sometimes that can slip by the wayside if you're not careful. But it's important to always keep that newness and that joy and that spontaneity, and to earn that love. Be worthy of it, because you will learn to love so much more the things that you invest in, and you learn to eventually hate the things that you only take from. That also correlates to yourself. Make sure you're investing in yourself. You're not always expending everything out of yourself. Invest in yourself. Love yourself. Show yourself that you love yourself. Remember to take those pauses instead of reacting, so that you can acknowledge and see and move forward. When you invest in yourself, when you see yourself, you breathe and you relax. You open to the gifts as you heal the cocoon within your life. I hope that gives you some good food for thought for this week, and we will see you next week. Thank you. Remember to hit the like button on the video, share it out with your friends and family if you got something that you enjoyed from this. Thank you.